So it was actually like they were going to try out for junior high baseball.
Okay.
And we just talking story, and he was, "Oh, where you from?" I said, "I'm from Palau." And he has that look. I was like, "What?" He's like, "I'm Palau."
Welcome back to the Swayside Connection Podcast. On today's episode, who do we have here with us?
Wilton Ngotel. I used to go by the name of Will, but as I got older, my full name actual started sounding good, so I always introduce myself as my full name, Wilton Ngotel.
I thought that always sounded better from the beginning, better than Will personally. But I guess when you're kids, like the shorter name a lot of time goes better. But there's a lot of famous Wills when we had growing up too. So
Yeah.
it's kind of
And for the most part, I think I just had to shortcut my name because on top of having to explain where I come from and all the things, I had to find ways to, condense it.
yeah. No, I feel that. Speaking of where you come from, yeah, let's just start it off. Oh, by the way, forgot to tell you, but are you drinking anything right now? I'm just drinking coffee, but
Water, es Pellegrino.
nice. What flavor is that?
It's cherry pomegranate.
Cherry pomegranate, nice. I'm just drinking boring old black coffee. And it's funny because I have you on because I'm actually going to try to start a fast today. So the last time I ate was last night. It's barely been 12 hours, so it's nothing really serious yet. But I'm trying to see how I'm trying to go 2 days at least 48 hours. So I'm only 10 hours in. But you were talking about where you come from. I think that's a good place to start. Like, where were you born, and then how did you get to Spanaway, and kind of talk about that.
I was born in Saipan. And I mean, for the most part, a lot of people know that now more than they did back then.
Yeah,
So for those that still don't know, it's we're north of Guam, and it's part of a chain of islands called the Northern Mariana Islands. And I came from there when I got to Washington in 1993. So
wow.
right after Christmas break, and then I started beginning of 93 at Spanaway Junior High.
That would have been, let's see, eighth grade.
Yep.
Eighth grade. So you were in Saipan that whole time, all the way up from. Okay,
I was born and
nice.
raised in Saipan. Both my parents are from Palau, but they lived in Saipan, and I was born and raised in Saipan. So still in the
Nice.
same general area, the Micronesia.
Yeah. No, that's dope. So both of your parents are Palauan then.
Yep. Yeah.
And then did your parents grow up in Palau?
And then my mom also went there. Yeah, my mom is part Chamorro from Saipan, but she's more Palauan than she is. So they did grow up in Palau, and then they moved to Saipan.
Okay. And then you're part Chamorro too then.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's why I dub myself Chamlao. Like part Chamorro, part Palauan.
Chamlao, that makes sense now because
Yeah.
or not half, but part
Yeah.
Chamorro, part Palauan. Okay. And
So
then
everybody gets equal representation.
yeah, no, that's dope. That's dope. Oh man, so how is your Chamorro and how is your Palauan?
So for the most part, bro, like fun fact, I did not speak Chamorro until I actually moved here.
What? No way.
Yeah, and because my dad was really into me doing good in school,
Yeah.
and he wanted me to be great in English.
Yeah.
So he prevented me from like speaking Palauan or Chamorro, but I did hear it a lot growing up. And for some reason, when I moved to Spanaway into my uncle's house, for some reason he spoke to me, and he just came out. And ever since then, I just started speaking Chamorro.
No way.
Yeah, which was wild to me. Like all my friends that I grew up with, when they moved out here, whether it was the army or whatever brought them out, they started laughing. They're like, "Bro, I never heard you spoke Chamorro, bro. Like
For
that's
real.
wild."
That
Yeah,
is wild. Dude,
yeah.
that's crazy. And then how about your Palauan?
My Palauan is it's pretty shaky. Like I can communicate to an extent of having a serious conversation, but not deep, not like a deep conversation.
And then when did you learn that though? Did you know that growing up or did you learn that
I
out?
knew I knew both growing up.
Oh,
I
but
knew
you
both
didn't really
growing up.
speak it that much, you're saying.
No, yeah, my dad was totally against that.
Really? So your dad spoke to you all the time in English?
Yeah, he spoke to me in English. Freaking made me listen to like country western,
Yeah, yeah.
and then he was really big into American films. So like just watching movies.
Yeah. That reminds me of my dad.
I
Or
kind
my pa-
of
My parents listened to a lot of country music growing up too, like Kenny Rogers and like,
Oh yeah,
Dolly Parton, all the real famous, like that was, I
that's
remember
right.
having those records growing up and like seeing them.
And
And then
that's
my
why they're
dad,
always the easiest songs to play on the ukulele too. You know,
yeah, true. Damn, that's so true. Damn, see.
I stopped that shit. That shit's too painful now.
Dude, so your Chamorro is better than your Palauan. Wow, but you're more Palauan though, as far as blood wise. Wow, that's good to know. That's good to know. I mean, you probably speak more Palauan than Robert, so that's good enough.
That's 100%.
Yeah, so no.
I even look more Palauan than he does.
Yeah, for yeah. Dude, so see, I didn't realize that you were. It's funny because like when you hear people are from Saipan, a lot of times you just assume that they're Chamorro, So it's but you when you really start learning, like, because when you start really learning about those islands, you just realize that, man, there's so many different other types of people there too. Like, because you brought up the CNMI, right? So that chain involves a lot of other islands too, right? Including Saipan, Palau. What are some of the other ones that people might not know? Like,
In the Micronesia?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, in
Yeah,
Micronesia.
Micronesia. Yeah, there'll be Palau, Saipan, Guam, Chuuk, Pohnpei, Marshall
Right.
Islands, Coast
Yeah.
Rai. And then as
See,
far as the Channel Islands, like the Northern Mariana Islands, the most civilized one is, I mean, it's Saipan, and then now you have Tinian and Rhoda to the
Yin
south.
Rhoda.
And
Yeah.
then all the ones to the north are uninhabited islands. So that's where we'd want to live now, like where everything is fruitful and there's no stress, live
Yeah.
like the old days. And those
Yeah.
are those
No.
islands.
That's man, see that's dope. So there's a difference between Micronesian islands and specifically CNMI, right? Or is there a difference?
All the other islands, with different languages, different cultures.
Okay. Nice. Then what brought you so then do you have siblings?
One brother. He lived in Puyallup. I brought him out later on after I graduated. I brought him out and sent him to school. He graduated from Mount Rainier in Des Moines.
Oh, yeah, yep, yep, yep. Oh, so you came out by yourself then?
So yes, I came out by myself. I went to live with my family in Spanaway, the
Yeah.
Igatols. I don't know
Yes.
if you
Okay.
remember Kiki.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like there was a lot of them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a group of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
They already had, a house full of girls, and then I moved in, stay with them only because I chose, like, I really wanted to come out here. And that was the closest place that, like, my family back home knew where I could go to,
Yeah.
come out to America. But yeah, the whole story started, back in Saipan. Baseball was like our number one sport. Not so much now, but when I was growing up, it was. And we were fortunate enough to make it to the Little League World Series. So if I heard that Dookie right, if Spain made it, I would have seen him there. I would have played against him.
No way.
Yeah, because we lost to that Germany team.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so we went to Williamsport, and that's when they just redid those dormitories that all the players stay in.
Yeah.
Everything was, yeah, it was all new. All the cafeteria, everything was new. I just saw how that was and then when like game day came around and all the people started showing up, I was like, dude, this is how baseball is here in America. Like, I
Yeah.
want to play out here. Like, I want to play baseball out here.
Wow.
They taught us everything. They teach you how to like hold a baseball and like to autograph it, work on your signature, like all that. And we're like, besides me, I think there was like two other kids that have flown out of Saipan and come to America, in one way or the other.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like never left the island. That was their first time.
Yeah.
It's
Damn.
just funny kind of looking around and seeing like how new everything is to us, to me, and then to some of my friends that never seen anything different. It
Yeah.
was, it was quite an experience, but I'll never forget. We were watching the championship game at Lamari Stadium, which is the main field.
Yeah.
And me and my dad were at the right field bleachers. I told him, I said, I want to move. I want to move to America. I want to play baseball out here. He said, all right, let's go home and then we'll call Uncle Vic and see if
So your dad
that's
came
right.
with you on that trip.
Yeah, yeah, he was with me.
So
So that's when I went back home and I just told, we spoke to my family and they said, yeah, we'll send you out there to Washington. I didn't know where Washington was.
yeah.
I just knew it's America. And I was
Yeah.
just like, fuck, I'm going to America, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I got the Spanaway.
Dude, that's crazy. And that's tight. Your dad was like, okay, if that's what you want to do. How much younger is your brother then?
4 years.
How many years?
4 years.
Okay, okay. Nice. Dude. So man, that's kind of tight that you just was like, Dad, I want to do this. And your dad was like, okay, we'll figure it out. And then
It was, I'm very fortunate, you know, thinking back, like I didn't get all the things that I wanted to achieve for myself. But I mean, like I said earlier, you know, having grown this old and being much the wiser, it's like I'm more grateful for just the opportunity in the beginning.
for
You
real.
know, it's sad that we don't think of these things when we're the age that we're supposed to think about it.
No, 1,000%. Even, I mean, I try to still think of it like that today. Like, because a lot of people can always say, man, I kind of wish I did this or I wish I did that. But it's like, I mean, we're old, but man, we ain't that old, there's
Yeah.
still a lot of stuff we can do. So, like,
Yeah.
this is, I feel like, for like, at least for like this channel and for like kind of the things and goals that I have, it's like, man, it's still early. There's still lots of life left to live and lots of fun left to have. And, you want to be thankful for the, like today, just even waking up, so nah, man, I love that. That's just crazy. And then like, are you like blood related to the Igitols?
Those are we're pretty close, but they're like my step family. So
Okay.
it's their my stepmom is their aunt.
It's like, okay, that's pretty dope. And then how many of you guys was in that house? I mean, there's like you said, there's like hella people, right? Like,
Yeah, they're jeez. It was a big house, bro. Like Uncle Vic he extended the house. Like
oh,
it's not like we were crammed into a house. Like
wow,
we were living comfortably.
dang, that's gangster. Because then how many people was that? Like, just roughly, if you can remember, like, what is like,
Maybe like 15, 16.
oh my God, damn, that's gangster.
And then like
Wow.
the girls stayed with Uncle Vic and in the main house, like, and then the extension of the house, that's where I was. The
Yeah.
boys, whoever came to visit.
Yeah. Damn, that's so
Yeah,
gangster.
I had a big ass yard. So you know when you're past Sprinker heading west, like towards Spanaway Loop, it's that last gated community before you head to Spanaway Loop.
Wow. Dude, that's,
He bought the end of the cul-de-sac. He bought the whole end. Like it was like they probably could have built 15 more houses back there, but we had the whole
wow.
land. Yeah,
Damn, that's so smart. Like, damn, that's so gangster, dude. That's just like, that's
that's
so
what we
dope.
had. That's why we had parties, bro.
Oh, man, I bet. That's the thing too. Like when I first came to Spanaway, there wasn't really too many Samoans. There's a lot now, but definitely there was way more Chamorros in the Spanaway area growing up, from what I remember, than there was Samoans. I feel like it might be different now, but it's like, dude, that's crazy. That you came over like that.
Yeah, no, it's the same, bro. Like what I saw back then was, like people that were here because they were stationed at Fort Lewis
Yeah,
from Saipan or Guam,
yeah.
you know, and then being at Uncle Vic's house, he was like the president of the club, people from the CNMI. So
Wait,
we
which
always
club is
had
this? Say that again.
CNMI. It's the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands.
Yeah,
People from Saipan, Rota, Tinian,
they
that are
had their own.
residing out here in Washington.
Yeah. Oh wow. So, and he was the president of that club.
Yeah, he founded the club. He was always about bringing the community together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's smart.
yeah, that was kind of where it started, and then from there, I was always helping out, cooking and doing all that.
For
That's
sure.
why I was. That's why it's like I always made food. I always knew how to cook. Coach Gary Green would always make fun of me because I tell him, I said, I can't make Saturday practice. He's like, why can't you make Saturday practice? I gotta cook a pig, man. He starts laughing. He goes, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, no, I'm not kidding you. I gotta do that. So it was always like jokes around Coach Green, Gary Green, Mr. Hagley. They're always just looking at me like, what are we making this Saturday?
Yeah. No, that, I mean, there's a lot of similarities in our community, in the Samoan community. The same thing kind of happens like that, where yeah, like things need to be done, and like you're that right age where you're like, whatever you're doing is not as important as, the event that is coming up. So
No,
there's
that's 100% facts, and that's why I think for the most part, like, I think I grew up with some resentment, because of that. Because
For
I
sure.
wanted to come here to play ball, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And I remember like coaches like Coach Brady, he goes, "Well, I have a summer league team that could use you. I can come pick you up. You don't have to do anything." And they'd be like outside the house, bro. Like, "Are you coming?" "I don't know, dude. Like, let me go inside real quick." I'll come out.
yeah,
They're like, "I can't do it. I can't do it."
yeah, yeah,
Like, all right. I said, I think that's why, for the most part, like I said, I was really resentful, not towards the people that were loving me and housing me,
yeah,
and just I think I was just mad at the universe.
yeah.
It's
I
not
totally
fulfilling my desires, so
1000%. I can relate too, because I know that feeling too, where man, like you're trying to do other things. I mean, for me, it wasn't like you had an actual like goal, like you wanted to play baseball. A lot of times it was just like, man, I'm lazy today, and I don't feel like doing, like going out and cooking all this stuff, or going and cleaning up this thing, but kind of like had to do it. And so like it's funny because I think I had a little bit of that resentment too growing up, but I was really good at like avoiding stuff like that too. So in Samoan they call it sola, when you just kind of like dip out. And like I would do that a lot. I would be, hey, where's Heinz at?
Sole Sola,
Sola, yeah. So
Sole Sola.
yeah, exactly.
It's crazy, and you know what? I could be that, right? Or I could have been that. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I realize that's just what happens when you become, like invaluable, or like when
Yes.
you're dependent on to do something.
Yes. Reliable.
Because I
Yeah.
asked Uncle Vic once. I said, "Why do you always ask me to do stuff? Like, there's a bunch of boys out. I was trying to fight for my position. And he's like, because nobody gets it done the way you get it done."
Oh,
Thinking back at like 13, 14, 15-year old, like, so I had like drive back then, like, trying
yeah.
to cater a whole party.
Yeah.
Where now it's like, I want to be as far away from food as I can be. But
Yeah.
I hate cooking. I don't really like eating our food. Like, it's moderation.
Yeah.
But just looking back and thinking, if those were the traits that I could have understood back then and kind of
Yes.
capitalize on growing up,
Yes.
rather than like have resentment towards, like it's not making me better, even though it
Yes.
was like the obvious thing for me to understand.
And 1,000% was making you better. It was 1,000%. Yeah. Like all those things that you were doing, like that's crazy. Like imagine like there's like 300 people, and then like, wow, year old just put it all together pretty much, and like people don't see that, and then you don't see it either because you're just like kind of like, yeah. But like, yeah, those are so valuable. Like it's crazy how much responsibility you can take as somebody that young, because I feel like a lot of times in American culture, a lot of us, when you grow up in the States and grow up in America, you're kind of babied a lot, and then so like when you have other cultures that kind of come in, and I'm just speaking broadly, there's obviously different uh things that happen to different people, but I just feel like for the most part, like, as you start growing up, you can do a lot more things, and that we don't need to be as babied. But it's weird, these are all things that I think of much later. I would have never thought this at those ages, at 13, 14, 15. I'm like, yeah, I would have thought this very similar, like, man, we're not supposed to be doing this, we're just kids, but
I
like I
think for the
think you
most
said,
part, I kind of asked for that as well, because just growing up on an island,
yeah,
more, you have to, your survivability has to be like always at 100%, and that's not just fighting. Like, fighting is a component of living in a village, of trying to
yeah,
hold yourself to a standard and, gaining respect. But for the most part, I think all the guys try to grow up fast, learning how to
yeah,
be like a man of the house,
oh yeah,
and to come out here, I didn't think, probably just didn't dawn on me that I had to keep that mindset. I
yeah,
was more geared towards just like, I just want to play baseball. Like, I thought that I was just gonna play baseball, and you know that's all I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna be
doing
doing,
all the extra
yeah,
stuff,
not
yeah,
because I didn't want to do it, but because I was not in that position, whether it be my age or whatever, to be doing stuff like that. Like I was gonna enjoy myself and focus on baseball in school.
Yeah. So what
To
was
have
that
to
like?
explain that, bro. To have to
Nah.
explain that to like a culture that doesn't understand that.
Yes. You get a lot of weird looks. And that's why it's funny that you brought up all the coaches that you did. Like you remember their names because you remember those weird conversations that you have to have with them. Like, I'm not going to be able to make it to practice every day. And it's not because I don't want to or that I'm lazy. Is literally, I got some other stuff I got to do. So, nah, man, that's deep. That's so deep, man. Man, talk about that growing up in Saipan a little bit. Cause I'm like, before you get to, we'll get to Spanaway eventually, but man, what was that like? Like, what's elementary school like? Like, what's that island life like as somebody growing up in Saipan?
Bro, elementary school is very, or school in general is very similar to here.
Okay.
Like school here, like what we learn, all the academic stuff, it's all pretty much the same thing. The only thing that I think I would really, really show more gratitude for is just the different positions that we were in as kids growing up, like whether it be our status in our family and everything. Like now as I've gotten older, I kind of appreciate that more. Like that's really where we came from.
Yeah.
Where everybody was doing good, all the ones that were doing great, not doing so good, and how we made it through and still
Yeah.
see each other now thriving today.
Yeah.
And for the most part, those are really memorable for me because I came out here, 30 plus years ago. So from what I can gather from it, it was all the great things and all the adversities that I've seen my people face,
Yeah.
and trying to make it, and then them eventually moving out here, whether they joined the army or came to go to school and progress themselves, and then now we see each other regularly. It's like, wow, we went from there to here,
Here.
you
Yeah.
know, and then seeing some of them go back and share now what they've gotten from here. Like
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting. Other
Yeah.
than that, it was back home when I was growing up, it was thriving. The economy was not as bad as it is now.
Yeah.
uh, the main source of money down there, besides the governmental assistance from the United States, is tourism.
Yeah. And there's not as much tourism now today.
Not as much as when I was growing up. When I was growing up, the whole island was lit. Like the whole island would be lit. Like as soon as it gets dark, you see lights, you see people walking the streets, going into shops, just doing all the tourist things.
Yeah.
We can be swimming at the beach, making money, taking pictures of tourists, like
Yeah.
they'll ask you, like take a picture and then they'll just tip you. I'm like, all right, we'll just swim here, I guess. We'll just make once, swim here and make money, go to windshields
Yeah.
after.
Dude. Because a lot of the tourists were from, where were a
Japan.
lot of the tourists?
So when I was growing up, they're from Japan.
Because it's right there. How far is that flight?
Japan is like an hour and a half.
What? That's it? An hour?
But yeah, but it's not necessarily just because it's right there, but it's because they come regularly to visit and honor their past, because that's where a lot of Japanese died from the war.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah.
That's how we became U.S. citizens. U.S.
Yeah.
citizens, and it's when America came and liberated us from Japan.
Wow. Damn, that's crazy. When's the last time you've been back to Saipan?
2016.
2018?
16.
Wait, say that again. 16. Sorry, I think I think there's like a delay with your i or earpods, or I think that's why sometimes it's like kind of hard to hear. So 2016, you were saying 2016. Okay. What was that like? Is that
It was very different. I mean, I went there first because to bury my dad.
dang, yeah.
But for the most part, it was like to also, kind of enjoy it. But it was very hot, bro. It was too hot.
Yeah, I feel you. Hey, I'm here in Samoa right now,
I
so trust
know.
me, I know exactly what you're feeling like. It's way too hot here for me, but it is what it is for right now. But no, man, that's crazy. And then, man, do you ever go to Palau?
I went to Palau was 94.
Whoa. Okay. 31 years ago. Damn, that's a long time.
It was after I came here, then I went back to visit. We went to Palau, went back, and then I came, and I never been back to Palau since.
Damn, that's crazy. And then, is there direct flights from to Saipan?
So you go before, when I was going, it was just Seattle, Japan, Japan, Saipan. But now there's options for you to go Seattle, Hawaii, Hawaii, Guam, and then Guam, Saipan, or you go through Korea.
Okay, yep, yep. Nice. And then how long is that flight from Korea to Saipan?
I never took that that one. I took the longest, like many stops, but
Yeah.
it
What's
was
the
just
Hawaii one then? Yeah. So Hawaii is like 5 hours, and then Hawaii
one,
to Guam. Yeah, how long is that one?
7. It's another 7.
Damn, 7. Okay. And then Guam to Saipan is what, like a half hour?
Yeah, half hour, 45. Yeah.
45. Yeah. Dude, that's crazy. Yeah, those are kind of like the options because, there's American Samoa and then there's the country Samoa. That's where I'm at right now. So the for the longest time, the only way to kind of get out here would be to come on Hawaiian Air. They were the only ones that had a flight from Hawaii to American Samoa, and then you had to catch another flight to here. But now Fiji Airways has a flight direct to Hawaii now, and then other people, you can fly to New Zealand first and then come here. That's only a 3 hour flight. So, but man, that's a long trip. So then when you went in 2016, how did you go? Which way did you go?
Hawaii, Guam.
Guam. Okay, nice. How long did you stay in Guam? Do you know any people in Guam?
Yeah, I have family that's staying Guam. That
Okay,
was
nice.
more of just like a 2 hour layover.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And then
Nice.
after, you're already kind of part ways into jet lag, so it's just
Yeah.
I'm just
You just
laying
want to get
down,
there.
waiting for the next flight. Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. Yeah, like all that stuff kind of interests me just because, I'm obviously out here in the islands too, but it's just like I have never been out that way. So I'd love to check out the Micronesian islands and cuz I hear a lot of like just even the pictures and stuff, it looks way different from here. It just looks to me it just looks nicer. But so now you're in the States, you tell your pops, I want to go to America. And then he's like, okay, we got a spot for you. You're at Spanaway Junior now. Man, what was that like? What was that like coming into American life?
That was very different, dude. It was very different, and I think for the most part, man, I'm still working through shedding some of that timidity away. Even as old as I am, and having been cultured out here, and
Yeah.
even doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I think that's the whole reason why I wanted to kind of like direct my soul, bro, because I know there was more. There's still a lot more,
Yeah.
and a lot of the things that kind of hold me back were most of the things I experienced from my young life, especially when I transitioned out here.
Yeah.
You know? Like nobody was mean to me, everybody was awesome. And I think that's just reciprocated energy because I didn't come in as an asshole or anything.
Yeah.
I'm just timid, bro. This is new to me. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to fit in, you know. I was just trying to be the best Fez I could be, you
Yeah.
know. But it was good. I mean, right out the gates, I met Robert Erichar,
Yeah.
Gary Green. Yeah, I think for the most part we connected just because it was about baseball. Because I just kept saying, I'm just here to play baseball. What
Yep.
do I have to do to play baseball?
Yeah.
Because that's all my family were there. They don't know anybody that played sports. So I'd be essentially the first one. So they tell me, go ask and figure out what you have to do.
Yeah.
So while I'm at school, I meet these guys. Hey, you play baseball? You play baseball? Good. What do I have to do? Or when does it start?
Yeah. That's dope. What I mean,
It's like
what position did you play, by the way, speaking of baseball?
catcher. Catcher, I could play middle or third base.
Nice, nice. So then, you come that year, man, baseball's not until springtime. So man, what was that like? Just like, brand new Spanaway Junior, like, do you remember any like teachers that stood out? And then like, yeah, like who else did you like meet and stuff during that? Obviously, Robert, you said anybody else that stood out during that time period? Cause man, I can only imagine this, like, whenever you're coming into a brand new place, it's always just kind of be weird, and so for you, and that's also a tough age too. I feel like, those early teen years, it's like very, man, it's just, that's when you really start wanting to fit in and stuff like that. And so,
It was tough. Like I tried my best, but sometimes I think it's always easier when you come out of the jungle, not
yeah,
knowing anything,
yeah,
and then getting implanted there versus coming to a place where you have an idea of what it's supposed to be like. You've seen movies, so you kind of have all these emotions that are going through you. Like, oh, I don't want this to happen to me. I don't want to be treated like this. I don't
yeah,
want. So now I start really holding myself back from being vulnerable and putting
yeah,
myself out there.
yep,
Sitting in the back of the class. Like please do not ask me like a question because I don't. It's like it's not that I don't engage, but I just don't know like how to begin.
Yeah. And I think that that happens to a lot of I just think that happens to a lot of kids that, man, when you don't have that early on confidence, because, going into anything new, I just feel like that's, because that's kind of like you describing that. That was me. That's basically how I went into UW, like, well, or just like new situations like that. I was like in the back of the class. I didn't want to raise my hand. I was just like, it was just so different from me in high school. And then like, it took me too, like my junior high years. I was pretty shy too in junior high, and but I didn't feel like I didn't really gain confidence until like it kind of got better as the years went on. So, nah, man, that's crazy.
I think
Like,
in
I
a
feel you.
weird way, it could go in reverse, right? Like you knowing what you know now, like at that age, if you were to go
Say that again.
home, like you knowing what you know now, if it were in reverse, like you were going back home instead of growing up here still, and you went
Yeah,
home at like 13, 14, where
yeah,
you have a semblance of like who you are,
yes,
your culture,
1,000%.
but everybody that you're gonna grow up with, they're gonna know that you're Palangi, man. Like you're this guy grew up in America, you know.
Yes, yeah, a
So now
thousand
you
percent.
start, you're being more careful about what you say, how you interact. You don't want to use their slang and then kind of mispronounce stuff, you know?
And I know some people that had that experience who was like who grew up in the States and then they moved out here, or maybe not here in um maybe not here in the country of Samoa, but I know people that went elementary, junior high in the States, and then they moved for high school to into American Samoa. And so it's like the opposite of what you experienced, and that's exactly the type of things that it's so interesting to hear their stories. And like, because man, kids are mean too, and especially like a place like American Samoa is like, man, they are brutal. Because like, and I think those things that you were saying, like getting called basically like American Palangi, basically, even though these are Samoan people, they're just like they would pick on them. And then it's so funny because like the person I know, like they came over, they were like ninth grade freshmen in their high school. Like they literally had eighth grade in Lakewood and then ninth grade in Samoa. And then like hearing those stories, he was like, yeah, man, them kids were mean. Like the seniors were mean to him. And then like, so then by the time he was a senior, man, he was an asshole to all the like newcomers. The same thing. It's just like this, it's like this bad sort of like trauma, like, you go through that trauma as a kid, and then like you inflict that trauma onto like, it's kind of messed up, but it's like, but I think that's, and then what a recurring theme that happens with these podcasts is like when we talk back about that time, I didn't see it a lot, but like, did you ever experience that, like being picked on by anybody or anything?
I said everybody was cool. I think
Yeah,
for me, I just had guarded myself. I prevented myself from being vulnerable. And, like, how everybody says there's no stupid question.
yeah,
I held on to that for a long time.
yeah,
I think I remember because I eventually I graduated from Bethel, but my senior year in Bethel, that's when I said that. I said, "Oh, I want to ask you something, but I think it's stupid." And it was my English teacher, and it's like, there's no stupid thing. So
yeah,
all this time, I could have been asking my friends all the little things.
everything.
And the only reason why I didn't ask is because I didn't want to be made fun of. Like, how do you
Yeah,
not know this? Like,
yeah.
like, oh, this is common knowledge or whatever. Like, I was preventing all of that.
And it's funny because now we would learn much later that that is the way to go, is to ask all those questions. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah. So to prove your point about what you're saying about learning it now, the pain that you get is like the magnitude is greater than when you were 13. Like
yes,
as an old man now learning or having
yeah,
to ask that question, you're just burning inside. You're just like, what the
yeah.
fuck, man?
But at the same time, it's like, man, I'd rather ask these questions
Yeah.
versus me being a 70-year-old man,
Yeah.
asking the same question. It's like, dude, you might as well just get it out the way. Cause it's like, dude,
Yeah.
okay, you should have learned this stuff when you were 15, 16. Okay, this is 30 years later. Let's not wait another 30 years where it's 75, 80, and I'm still asking those same questions. It's like, dude, it's just rip the band aid off type of thing. So, and then, so now we're in high school. So now, well, what's that like?
Yeah, high school, man. I think at that point with like I never knew the whole how middle schools get integrated into high school. So it's like I thought like Spanaway Junior High, and then we had our own high school, which is Spanaway Lake, And then I just met, like Jay Noder, not through like being introduced to him, but
Yeah.
by watching him play because we played, against Cedar Crest, and just
Yeah.
watching this dude just like dude, this guy reminds me of like a bully, bro. And everybody's just, oh, Jay's up to that. It's just like, who is this guy? I never get
Yeah.
to high school. Unfortunately enough, I didn't really get to like bond with him. It was different. And once again, it's not because I don't, like I said, I held myself back from, being close to a lot of people or knowing more than what I should have known just because of my timidity or just negative self talk.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't understand how, like, I even made the team. Like, this is baseball. It's something that I'm very passionate about. Like, I love it or whatever. And I didn't want to ask anything. I'm just doing the things that I knew. I wasn't trying to improve because I was preventing myself. But I was surrounded with a bunch of great guys, like Jay Alder, Robert Erichar. I mean, when we got to high school, like Jason Inouye, Robbie
Yeah.
Dacier,
Yeah.
like these are like quality guys.
Yeah.
And
True.
it was my fault for not putting myself there. I always held myself, down here.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it was fun because I got to play, but it wasn't fun because I wasn't like feeling the full effect of it. Like
Yeah.
now if I see all those guys, if I see you, like we would
So
hug. I
different.
would I would jump
So
on. I would
different.
hug you. Yeah,
So different. Yeah.
yeah. You would be like, bro, let me go, bro. Like, no, bro, I love you. You
Man,
know.
that's a good point, man. Because just me looking back, man, you were hella reserved. And like, it's now I'm trying to think back. It's like, man, I rarely remember hearing you talk. And so now that you bring that up, and it's just funny how, like, as you get older, like, you just learn these things about yourself. And then you actually are able to look back and kind of understand what you were going through during that time. It's like, man, do you have any like stories from those days at all? From like any interactions playing baseball or even at school?
Just for the first part, like how I found out that Robert was Palauan.
Yeah, yeah,
So it was actually like they were going to tryout for junior high baseball.
yeah. Okay.
And we just talking story, and he was, "Oh, where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Palau." And he has that look. I was like, "What?" He's like, "I'm Palauan." I was like, "Fuck no, dude." He's like, "I'm Palauan, bro." He's like, "My last name is Erichar, but we actually it's supposed to be pronounced Erar." Well, as soon as he wrote the R, I said, "Bro." I said, "No way, you're Palauan." I said, "Oh, it's good to know." All right, now I feel a little bit better, and we kind of just bonded.
Yeah.
So he was kind of like my big brother in a sense. If I ever felt
Say that
like I
again. He
had
was
to
kind
ask,
of like your what?
he was my big brother. Like any question I
Nice. Yeah.
had, or I
Yeah.
always referred to him. I asked him. 'Cause I also had Gary Green, but my relationship with Gary Green was more of like just out for each other, just like pranking each other. So I didn't wanna. I was careful with asking him something because it might be, like send me
He might
to
use
do
it
something
against you.
crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, between Gary and Robert, I'll go with Robert. I remember playing with Dookie, some other people, Roger Beer, and then, just hanging out at the basket court, by that, at Spanaway Junior High, by that podium outside. That's where I met most of the boys, like all the
Nice.
maniacs, the
Yeah.
maniacs. Yeah.
Yep.
But I was between the maniacs and the Wonder Bread. Like I didn't really have
You were in between.
yeah, I didn't really have a side. Like I'm
Yeah.
all about equality.
No, that's dope. That's dope. Um,
Yeah, I
man.
mean, besides that, the things that were really memorable for me because everything was so different, and I don't know why, but I was so in tune with like the scenery and the smells. So like
The what?
driving, like the smells that like all my senses were like really heightened.
In where?
Just like, for example, like the bus ride to Lockburn, like
Wow.
heading that way, like driving
Yeah.
through there now, like I can smell that, like what it
Wow.
smelled like. Or every now and then when I go down to Spanaway and I'm driving by the lake, like going out to Spanaway Loop between all those trees,
Yes.
I get all those
Brings back
feelings come back,
memories.
like that
I
that
feel that.
smell comes back.
Yeah. That's interesting that the smell hits you, but like you said, driving between driving or not even driving. There's like random YouTube videos of people driving around Spanaway, and just me watching those, I get those feelings. I can't smell anything, but like the other feelings I get strong. Like I'm like, man, I used to drive these roads every day. I know exactly kind of where this car is driving around when it's like past Sprinker and it goes on Spanaway. It's like because there's some like That's what's crazy about YouTube. Everybody just uploads different things, so you can watch people. You know, it's weird. I was watching a video of a person driving around Spanaway, and it just like that hit me. You know, and I'm just like, damn, that really brings back hella memories because that's basically where I learned how to drive. Is like all those streets. So, and it's so funny because I've kind of driven like all over the place. So it's just like I know exactly what you're kind of talking about.
When you get memories that come back when you're engaged in that realm of
Yes, that's
your
my
life.
favorite part of this is those memories that come back that you get kind of that engage you. Like just yeah, man, that's some of my greatest things. So man, and then you just mentioned something too. I didn't realize you graduated from Bethel. So when did you go to Bethel? When did you leave?
1997, I went to
Okay,
Bethel. Yeah,
so
yeah,
just for the senior year
yeah, because
or
we had
part of
moved
junior year?
part of junior year. We moved,
Snap!
we moved.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
at that point we had moved to Graham, and we lived out there by Frontier Junior High.
Yes.
Yeah,
And then, did you try to stay at Spanaway Lake?
we
Or
we tried, we all tried to. Yeah, me and the girls, we all tried to, but it was just too much of a trek, to go
yeah,
back and forth. And like with me wanting to play ball, like there's no activity bus that's gonna get me
all
near
true.
like walking distance.
Yeah, damn, that's so true.
Yeah, well, it was a good experience. Yeah, high school at Spanaway Lake, it kind of just got elevated. Like whatever the all those emotions that I was feeling in junior high, it's like I never had enough time to process and kind of build
Y-
myself up. And then going to high school and you got more kids from another
Yeah,
school. Like you haven't met, you don't have no like, there's no bonding time. You're still trying to bond with the kids that you just met like a
yeah,
year and a half ago,
yep,
you know. And then now they're like friends because they're familiar, right? They're from the same area. They're familiar. They grew up, and then now, like I find myself like too fast, bro. Foreign exchange student, bro. Just be like, okay, like where's my path of least resistance here?
yeah. Damn, damn. That's crazy, man. So, do you remember any teachers at all from Spanaway Lake?
From Spanaway Lake, Jesus. I know my favorite was Miss Hamilton, as I've
Yep.
heard everybody else's favorite. Just her and the Spanish teacher. I forgot her name, but yeah, she was up.
Warner, Warner.
I don't know. I forgot, bro.
I can't remember.
Yeah, the only reason why I'll never forget her is because like, I was so tired one day, and she let me sleep through the class, and then she
Wow.
woke me up. She woke me up when everybody's walking out, and she's
Yeah,
like, "You were sleeping like a bump on a log," and I was like, "What? Like, what does that mean? Get out of my
dude.
class! I have another class coming in." I was just like, "Yeah, her." I mean, other than like Mr. Roback and
Yeah,
you know, yeah, for the most part, like I think when it came to high school, it was more of a blur. It's just between trying to excel, and then there's a lot of things going on at home, trying to figure all the, that stuff out,
yeah,
and like really trying to grow, man. Like I don't like having to feel, like join in on playing with friends. Like that
yeah.
was like hard to find,
I
at
mean, it's
times.
tough. You're on your own pretty much. Cause I mean, like all the people you grew up with is back home. You're not even with your parents and your brother or whatever. So it's like you're out here. You're obviously staying with a family that brought you in. But even then, you're still trying to find your way. And then, damn, halfway through high school, you have to leave and then you go to Bethel. Man, what was that like going to Bethel? Man.
I think at that point it gotten a lot easier. Like it still was hard in its own way, but it had gotten a lot easier. I don't know if it's because I listen to country music, so I kind of I kind of meshed in with all the country folks,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was easygoing. I think Spanaway Lake at that point had seen their fair share of, like islanders or foreign exchange students,
Yeah.
close to Bethel, where it felt like I was the first one there. So they were
Wow.
intrigued. So they were asking me a lot.
Wow. Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, where you come from? Oh, tell me about this. What is this like?" So now
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh shit! Like I can talk to you about that."
Yeah.
Then kind of from there, that's where we had the exchange of information. Like, hey, can you help me with this? You know, versus like when you're just trying to find your way through anything new. it was a little bit easier.
I mean, you pretty much had to redo like brand new to Spanaway Jr. And that one's probably the biggest change. And then, obviously we all kind of went through it when we got to Spanaway. So then going to Bethel is like it's like the third time that's happening. So like, you're just like, hey, I've been through this in the last, how many years. So it's like, I'm used to this. So
Yeah, warmed up, all warmed up.
yeah, man. No, that's crazy. And then that's crazy because now that I look back, I'm like, damn, I didn't even realize just because. And we talked about this before the show is because like, man, I've seen you so many times after high school. I ran into you, and like that's what I'm saying. Like it's so bad too, and a lot of times it's at like parties and events, fiestas and stuff like that. And so it's just that's why I love being able to sit down and like really like get to ask you all these like good questions about just stuff. What really hyped me up is, like I said, it's been tough sometimes getting people. A lot of people say yes, they just say not right now to come on this podcast specifically, and I'm excited just because like you had me hyped up because you watched one of my other random videos that I made. Can you talk about that? Like like how you came across it or like what you got out of that video?
Yeah, I mean, so first, it all started with your very first podcast that I watched, which was with Corey Alexander.
Well, yeah. So how did you see that one? How did you find out about that one?
I think that was on Corey's Facebook. Yeah, I think it was a link through, and then I kind of just put two and two together. Said like Spanaway Connection. I said, oh shit, that was
Yeah.
all good. I said this is gonna be awesome, and I've been keeping up with all the videos that you've been putting out.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
All our great friends and
Yeah.
podcast. So I just decided like, man, let me go and see what else this guy has.
Yeah.
Because always in the podcast you always mention about letting everybody know, like, start your own podcast, start your own.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, and I'm like I said earlier, I'm in the way kind of like rebuilding myself.
Yeah.
Finding
Same.
getting out of that mundane 9 to 5 and finding more, jobs that are gonna buy me more freedom.
Yeah.
Rather than just punching a clock.
Multiple reasons, finding more freedom, like building an audience, gaining more skills. Like in half of these videos, I think it's just good for my own like mental health and stuff like that. So nah, man, for sure.
Yeah. And then I stumbled on that video where you were going over the book, The War of Art.
Yeah.
I've seen that book in passing, but sometimes it takes a friend to kind of read the back of the book for you.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, I have to open this book up now.
Yeah, you do.
For some reason, like I said earlier about the message, right? Like the message would come out at the right time that you're supposed to receive it.
Yeah.
And it goes along with the resistance. When you really have the inkling to do something greater, the greater the resistance. That's why we get lazy and we just say, oh, I'll look at it tomorrow.
Lazy, scared. It comes in different formats too. Yeah. It's not just one, one, it's like a lot of times, yeah, you think you'll do it later. Almost 99% of the time you never do. And you just put it off. It's so easy for us to put stuff off because we think that our future selves is going to be on point. And it's like, dude, your future self ain't shit. Yeah. Like a lot of times your future self just wants to chill. Like that feeling that you have today, that's when you got to do it. And so that's why it's like reading, like that video doesn't have that many views. And I'm, not that views is a thing, but like, man, I always think, man, will this help anybody? The fact that I read this book and like, man, that like just that if it maybe helps you or just inspires any one person, like, and for you, for that video, it's like, man, I'm so happy that I'm like, okay, I'll forever. Yeah.
And
so that's
brings me up to my next point of why I actually had the intention of commenting on that is because for the most part, we always see our friends doing great things.
Yes.
And we are friends, for whatever reason, whether it's things that we did in the past or we just want to give them gratitude. We don't never share gratitude with them.
Yes.
What's it worth if I'm happy with where you are and what you're doing, but I'm not, like purposely sharing that with you through a message.
Yeah.
Like it's not gonna count that as we're not like connected, through the ether. So it makes sense when you can read a message.
You are, but you're not. Because like we're all kind of connected. Like for example, we're all on Facebook, but as time goes on, a lot of people use Facebook less and less, or you'll see somebody doing good, but then kind of like you're saying, you won't send them a message. You'll like something, and I'm guilty of that a lot, where I just like something and I rarely message the. And I'm like, man, I should be messaging more people. This forces me to message more people now that I have this podcast and I want people to come on and share their stories. But it's like, man, that's so deep. You kind of hit something right there. Just how, man,
And
if you want,
past. It goes back to the past of, how I was really holding myself back from vulnerability. We're now working it in reverse.
yeah,
So maybe 2 years ago, I wouldn't have sent you that message
yeah,
because I'm more worried about what other people would read it as, or how would
yes,
you read it as, when all
yes,
it is just a solid message commending you on what you're doing and telling you to keep going. And that's just mission to you to know that regardless of how many views I get, if I don't get any likes, somebody's watching it and somebody's gonna grab something from this.
yes.
You know?
And a lot of times, because when you make these videos, feels like, especially the ones where I'm just talking head videos, where I like that, the one that you watched, when you're making it, it feels like if you feel stupid, especially early on, it feels hella stupid. You're like, dude, what the hell? I'm just kind of talking to this camera. And, but if you can get over that, and all these things take courage. Coming on this show takes courage. Recording a video where you're talking to the camera by yourself takes courage. You really have to like let your ego go. And then man, just the fact that one person in this world got some sort of value from that. Now I will forever probably make videos, because like just seeing that message from you, it's like hyped me up. I know other people watch this podcast because they're Spanaway people and they want to know how people are doing. People like Christy said in hers, she's like, people are nosy, and it's like that's part of it too. But people also just want to see how Spanaway people are doing. But like, man, so just starting this channel and just kind of doing those things, and of kind of like of some of the goals that you were saying in starting, and we'll talk about like kind of what you've have in plan. But I challenge everybody to do something that you've always wanted to do. And whether it's starting a YouTube channel, starting a podcast, like I just had this conversation with somebody else the other day about kind of starting something. And you really like, if you can get over yourself and your ego or whatever, like you don't understand how much knowledge you all have, because I feel like even though we're older, man, everybody has so much knowledge now and so much wisdom. And it's like, dude, hella people can learn from that wisdom and knowledge. And so even if you don't feel like you've done that much, man, just you surviving, you being alive is a lot. So I feel like
It's
you're
so true
holding.
about the 80s and how great that was growing up.
Yes. No, and I'm right there with you, because
That's
it's.
why we're resilient and we can endure hard things because
And
we
I
grew
think
up.
during a hard time, and so I think that's why I mean, like, obviously with technology makes us a lot lazier, because there's like so many easy things, easy buttons for us to push now that we're older. And I think that also it taught us, like you said, it taught us a little bit of resilience. But I think that like you said, doing hard things, like having hard things to do is a gift in itself. And I think a lot of people look at it as too much to handle. But I'm like, dude, it's not. I think that's the gift. That's the gift itself, you know,
Yeah.
is having hard things to do. So, because starting a YouTube channel is tough. Like, I've been 3 months in, and it's like, man, to try to do all the things to get monetized, it's hard. But at the same time, doing these, reconnecting with people is fun. So that's why it's like, man, I try to merge the two, you know what I mean? Now, I think like one of my favorite things about this too is like talking about other people's like podcasts and things that they're doing too. Now, you have a podcast. You haven't had an episode in a while, but it sounds like you're from that video that I made. You're talking about bringing it back. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I started a podcast when I think earlier last year,
Okay.
and I think I'm 12 episodes into it, and it's called The Patriotic Islander. And for me, I always like to pay homage to America only because of how grateful I am
Yeah.
for where I grew up and all the things that allowed me to be here and do what I want to do and try to find ways to live in abundance for myself and my family.
Yeah,
I show gratitude for, America. That's why I made it patriotic. And then the Islander, just because, celebrating my roots and my culture.
for sure.
And I think, bro, I hung it up for a bit only because if you listen to my podcast, it's very painful. Like all my guests on there, we're talking about a lot of pain. Not that I don't want to talk about pain, because I also do hold a lot. And I think doing the podcast with other people that carry so much weight, kind of help. We kind of held each other through it.
For sure. For sure.
I think I've gone through, all my people that were going through that. And then now when I look at it, it's like, now that we've established what hurts us and how we can let things go, like I want to work on like how do we bounce back from that now, bounce
Yeah.
back from, not forgetting those, but like building off of those, and then establishing ourselves in a lot, kind of light and love sense, and then learning how to help other people, come out of theirs, because for the most
Yeah.
part, realize all these things. Like we even talk about it lightly, about me moving here and those emotions and stuff. It's like for the most part, people think we can just let those go, like they're memories of the past. But in those cases, like there's some, I don't know why some of them get stuck to you.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it holds you back sometimes.
yeah, they keep
It hold.
compounding over,
Yes.
and I think the best power that I found was by doing the podcast is by identifying, acknowledging, and then striking on them, like taking care of them. Using that as power now versus using it as a way to hold you back from,
Yeah.
jumping forward.
That's dope. So it sounds like that podcast. I talk about it all the time about how like recording yourself is therapy and can be. It sounds like that podcast was like a form of therapy for you and your guests too.
Yeah,
So
it is. And I think for the most part, I put the kibosh on it because I took on a different position for work last year that really, really, bro, like honestly put me to the test. Like all of my
wow.
emotions,
Yeah.
everything I've been holding on for the longest time. Like if I was like this when I moved here, I'd be a different beast, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like being vulnerable, acknowledging my weaknesses and then working on them despite what others might think, for I
Yes.
don't reason why we hold on to people's opinions and how they value our value.
Yeah.
That's why it's like, no, I gotta put this on timeout because I want to sort of rebrand it, kind of start having a issue and then a solution and then like an action item for, like how do we take care of these things, but still kind of navigate, for our people that are moving here, for our people that are already here that, miss home. I want to learn more about home,
Yeah.
kind of rebuild ourselves. And I was thinking of changing the name too, but that's kind of still, I was thinking of it the Island Warrior. What's your
But
thoughts on that?
hey, I think ultimately you know the best name. I could come up with a hella, and then there's AI that can help us with names too, because I'll use that every now and then. Like I talk about this a lot too. One of my other favorite things about this is just hearing and seeing the growth and the maturity in people. Like talking to them now that we're, like I said, we're so much older and just like, damn, man, like everything that you just said, just talking about like your, just, your journey and like, understanding yourself and like, damn, it's just powerful, man. And I'm just like so proud of like you having the self-awareness now and like you like really breaking down like your childhood to like, things that are going on. I think a lot of people don't have that time. Like everybody lives these busy lives and like there's all these things going on and sometimes we don't get to really sit down and look at some of these issues that we're going through. Like your podcast allowed you to do that. And so, man, that's why it's like, but no, I think that name's cool. And I think like, I think that because didn't you have another podcast too?
No, it's just that. But I've been on others.
So you were a guest on other podcasts. Okay. Cause
Well,
I
to
saw,
put it up, it'd probably be my professor's podcast, The Endless Endeavor.
oh
But
man, dude, you were on hella podcasts. I thought there was another one, like a Savage podcast.
there's a Nation built one.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not your podcast?
No, but that's my buddies who owns Nation Built Apparel.
Dude, so this is like your fifth podcast you've been on.
Oh, and then we also do a monthly podcast with my podcast and his podcast, where
Okay, that makes sense.
that's where we highlight like some of the issues that we have in our communities and just strike him, just talk smack, like
That's good.
how we've been acting and how we should be acting, stuff like that. Talk about health and fitness and a lot of our food and just societal norms that kind of help people back, like all that crap.
Yes. Okay. No, I'll. Yeah, that's the other one that was because are you that shirt you got on right now?
It's nation built, yeah.
Yeah, that's the other podcast that you were on.
Yep.
Gotcha. See, I thought that was yours, but you team up with them.
Yeah, we team up
Okay.
with them monthly, and we talk
Dope.
about, yeah. Because
Yeah.
right now he started his own journey too, and they had today they had a marathon today, the Tacoma Marathon.
Oh, snap. Yep.
They started a run club, which me and my wife are a part of. But today they actually ran. They took a team out there yesterday of kids and people that just want to start running, and they did 5K. And then today they took a group that did a half, and then they did a full.
Wow. Damn. Gangster.
So it's just like aligning myself with people that are really trying to change our
Yeah.
people
I
for
mean,
community. And
yeah.
then like me too, like that's where I found healing, is taking all those feelings that I got when I first got here, and then
Yeah.
I coach the younger kids in our community of how to act and not be afraid of asking questions, or if they need like something, I can be a resource for them to like find it, just to avoid like all that timidity, like just
Yeah.
kind of them and help them out.
Dude, that's dope. That's so dope. Man, do you have any kids?
Yeah, I got my 3 boys. They're all grown. They're 2 in the army, one is in the Air Force, and then now it's just me and the 2 girls. We just got the 2 girls at home.
Whoa, dude, that's awesome. And so then are you still in Washington?
Yeah, I moved up to Snohomish County.
Oh, wow. Okay, Snohomish. Dude, how nice. How's that up there?
It's pretty good. It's pretty chill. It's not.
Yeah.
It's packed, but it's not as crowded because we moved up here from Puyallup.
Yeah.
Not as crowded as Puyallup.
Damn, Puyallup is pretty crowded these days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Snohomish, nice. So where in Snohomish? Like what area? Marysville? Nice. Yeah, I had my homeboy lives in Bothell. I have some friends up there too, and then
everywhere,
yeah,
bro.
yeah, man.
My friends.
True that. Yeah.
I remember back in the day when people from Saipan, like that I know, had just moved here for school, and we'll see each other at the softball field or something. And they're like, "Hey, bro, you know Heinz?" I was like, "I only know one Heinz, bro. Like, who you talking to?"
I love people from Saipan, man. You guys are like so nice, man. Not to. It's so funny because there's like this thing between people from like Saipan is very particular too, and so
Never
like
hungry, bro. You're not gonna go home hungry.
never. Speaking of Saipan, do you do betel nut?
I used to. Yeah, I used to.
Can you explain to the people what betel nut is? And that's how you can tell I have Chamorro friends from Saipan for sure, because which is very different from Chamorro people from Guam, by the way. And I don't even feel like people understand that, but it's very different. And so, anyways, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so betel nut is a nut, and back home, like in Hawaii and Saipan, it grows. They're a lot smaller versus the ones you get at the Asian stores here in Washington. Those are from Thailand, and they're like
huge.
Yeah. And I mean, so we chew betel nut, and then for us in Saipan, we mix lime into it, which is just ground like coral, and then you can choose if you want to put tobacco or not. I use tobacco, preferably cigarette, and then you wrap it with a leaf, like a betel leaf, and you chew it. It turns red. Do not swallow. It makes you kind of gives you a little buzz.
Buzz, yeah. Just by chewing it, not even swallowing it.
Not swallowing, yeah, just by chewing it.
So it's very similar to like chewing tobacco, but you said you like to put the cigarette tobacco in and use that, and then you just let it sit. Yeah, you don't.
No, you mash it up, and then.
So you are mashing it up.
You make all the juices and then you spit it. Maybe I should make a YouTube just on chewing betel nut.
You should. I mean, and to be honest, there's probably some out there. There's probably some out there. But no, man, you're OG now. Like that's crazy. Like that we're so old now. But like, yeah, it's.
Why did you ever try it?
Yeah, I tried because those guys. I was like, man, I'll stick to cigarettes. So it was just like.
It just became like a lot to hold on into a bag, like you can.
Yes, because you need all the different components. You need the lime, you need the plant, you need the tobacco, and you need the betel nut. And it was just like, dude, this thing and that thing is just too. That's too much stuff to like worry about, man. That's just like
Yeah, I
the
know.
closest thing. Yeah,
I
the
saw.
closest thing I did was like I did tobacco patches, but just the patch, and then you put it in, and then it
Yeah,
like, but and that was during that time period, just because like when you're around people that are doing betel nut all the time, you kind of like, oh man, I kind of want to like be part of the thing that everybody's doing, and it's just like,
yeah,
nah.
yeah. No, it's wild. I quit because I no longer. I walked away from my job that gave me good insurance, to always polish up my teeth and
You're
stuff.
smart. Dang, yeah, you're so smart. Yeah, I mean that's just like, yeah.
I gotta get rid of some habits that are gonna be, I don't want to look all like red teeth.
Yes, yes. And then, there's also cancer and stuff that could come from doing stuff like that too. So, no, man, that's smart. That's hella smart. Speaking of health, like you look pretty healthy. And I saw that you were kind of talking about that in some of your podcasts that you've been on. Can you talk about maybe like what makes health so important to you?
Yeah, for me, it's just prolonging my life, man. Prolonging my life. I think I've made it this far. Carrying a lot of weight, and as I was shedding those, like my physical weight, I was also identifying all the weight that was not mine. So
Ooh,
hand in hand. So just gaining it, all for the wise, man. Like everything I gained was because of the same weight that I carry. So I
damn.
spread, and being Islander, I think our body composition is already messed up from the beginning. The
Yes.
important get and how we are fed. I cannot blame anybody
Yes.
because they're doing the best they can for us.
Yes. And it worsens when you leave the islands and then now but I mean, it's coming onto the islands. It's just all the processed food that everybody eats today, and processed foods are becoming more available, even on the islands too. There's tons of crappy processed foods out here still, but especially in America, man, the options are endless for processed food. So getting back to that,
It
it's
was bad.
tough.
And then I had a hypertension in 2018. I got hypertension,
Wow.
and I was doing CrossFit, bro. Like I started CrossFit like 2016, but I was a typical like, oh, I'm Islander, I'm strong, I work out, but I'm not. I was trying to figure a way out to outwork a bad diet.
And I've tried that before. I tried that my whole 30s
Yeah,
from 2010 all the way to 2020. That's kind of, or I'd say 2018 is kind of because that's when I started doing keto. But I used to try to have that mindset too. And I think that's an Islander thing. That's like, dude, if I work out hella hard, I can eat whatever I want. And your body, especially as you get older, says, no, you can't. Like,
yeah,
you can't. And I used to think that was like, oh, yeah, work out, then go eat McDonald's, or work out, eat Jack in the Box. And then it's just like, dude, those two things don't really mix if you really want to see results, unless you're like super peak athlete, which I am not at this age. It's like, dude, you can't do it. Your body really responds better when everything is aligned.
100%. And it was through that. That's when I started really considering what I was eating. And it's crazy because it's not like you're not conscious to it. Because we know as we're doing it, we're just like, oh man, like I'm gonna pay for this. But you're still doing it, which kind of woke me up in a sense to where I'm already conscious to it, so I need to start handling it. Otherwise, it's gonna take me, and I'm not gonna have time to kind of catch up to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it could be a form of like diabetes or some disease that are very very common in our demographic.
Yeah. I mean, just our age group, there's so many people I hate the number of people that I know that have had strokes, that have diabetes, that are our age group that are like going through whatever. And man, it's scary. So, like you saying you want to live longer, man, it makes sense. And then I want to live longer too. So, like, that's why I just did a hike last week, and I think I'm going to try to make it a weekly thing, just because same thing. I want to live longer. So, and like watching some of your videos talk about the importance of health has inspired me. So that's why That's what I'm telling you. Everybody, make more videos. You could be inspiring, your brothers and sisters out there that are possibly going through whatever. It's like, dude, all these things, I feel like spreading good information is powerful. So, speaking of
Yeah.
foods, though, now you say you don't eat as much of it anymore, but like, man, what are some of like the Chamorro foods that like you were so good at like making and stuff? And like, man, what type of that stuff do you still eat or don't eat or?
So, yeah, back in the day, I would man the red rice, the sukiyaki. I could throw some pancit, all the barbecues from your chickens to your ribs, your short ribs, all of that.
Yeah. Yep.
I used to make soups for when we come back from like hunting trips. So
Nice.
soups, like if you got fresh catch deer, it'd be like deer with, potatoes or taro with coconut milk, eat and sleep on the table at the same time.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You
Oh
know,
man.
and all the calaguins
Nice.
and the shrimp calaguin. Yeah. But now when I eat in moderation, I mainly support local. So like up here in Snohomish County, it's called Guam Grub. So I eat, like Fiesta plate. I'll go over there and grab a plate.
Nice. And what do they have? What kind of food did they have that are they serving?
Like the same food that you find at the Fiesta, like, your red rice, lumpia. You get
Yes.
your ribs, barbecue chicken, your side of finadeni, and then you can get empanada or chicken calaguin on the side.
Damn.
So yeah, every now and then, like I'll make it in there. But a lot of my free meals, bro, are Korean barbecue.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not part of your diet? That sounds like it would be part of it.
So I choose to make it my free meal because then I bump up my rice intake.
Okay, I never eat rice at Korean barbecue. This is before. That's just a pure money play. That's just me being so cheap that I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to waste money on the rice because I know it'll fill me up faster. So I never eat rice, even when I'm not doing keto or any of the other ones. I will eat rice if the Korean barbecue has like sushi. Okay, I'm like, okay, it's sushi, so maybe I'll eat that because it has fish with it. But
How authentic is your Korean barbecue if it has sushi?
hey, hey,
I'll swap the sushi for more gochujang.
yeah. Why do you call it free meal instead of cheat meal? Like most people call it cheat meal. Why do you call it free meal?
Because before, when it's a cheat meal, I would just go berserk, right? Like I would eat whatever, and like, for example, I'd probably go to a buffet and then eat 2 times and then have dessert on top of that and then drink a soda, right? So a free meal now, like for instance, I go to Korean barbecue, I can eat as much as I want as long as it's within, like, I'm not going out of the bounds of like unhealthy, and it's still within guidance. So and it's mainly just the meat because they have marinated beef or like a New York,
Yes.
and that's what I'll get. I'll just get like a New York steak. So I can go get the steak anywhere else, but I just want
Yeah.
all the fermented foods as well.
Yes.
So that's why I like Korean barbecues. I load up on all the beans,
Kimchi.
yeah, the kimchi.
Yeah. Damn.
Instead of going somewhere else, I can just add like a veggie tofu soup. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny because a lot of the outside of the Tacoma area where there's in Federal Way area, I feel like that Linwood and North area has a lot of good Korean places to go to. As far as, do you think they're not that good? Like, what's your favorite? What's your favorite Korean
So
places
surprisingly,
to go to?
here in Marysville, we have
Yeah,
we have one, and that's my go-to. But the one in Marysville mirrors the ones that we have like in South Tacoma Way.
yeah, yeah. Because there's a lot.
Yeah, and I think like I don't really like the Linwood and all those places, not because they don't have the right food, but they tend to be overpriced and they're more of
Oh,
just. I don't like when it's not a homey feel, like just come in, push you out, come in, push you out. It's like, no, I want to sit down, enjoy myself.
I mean, there's a place in Linwood. I don't know if it's still there. It's been years since I've been there. There's a place in Linwood right off Aurora called Secret Garden, and I used to go there like once a week. I used to go there like every Friday because like I think back then it was less than $20. This is like how old we are too. But it was like less than $20 to go all you can eat, and I would go there pretty much every Friday.
Is that like around like where Ranch 90?
Maybe south of that, but yeah, close to that. I think it's close to that. It's like kind of where Shoreline ends and Linwood starts, but it's right there on 99. And like, man, it's old. I think, trying to think what else was around there. There might have been, there's like hella car dealerships on 99 in that area, but yeah, I used to go there like every Friday because I used to live in North Seattle for the longest. So I lived in North Seattle like 15 years. So I used to go to that Korean barbecue place right there in Linwood all the time. And like, to me, I like that place. And like, this is years ago. This is 20 years ago. So, but I thought that was one of my favorite kind of places to go to. But
Did you
I
ever
mean,
go to the
there's
Bay Place in Northgate?
which one?
Is it the
The
hell? Is
Asian?
it Bluefin or
Yes. Yep. Bluefin. Yep. 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 That's like they do sushi and like yeah. That one's expensive, but yeah, no, it's good. It's expensive, but it's good. Yeah, because that's the other funny thing, man. Back in the day, just being in that area, dude, there was this all you can eat sushi spot that was like $10 for lunch in Northgate. I mean, it's not there no more, but like it was not as nice as Bluefin, but it was like bomb. It was still pretty good fish and everything, and it was just like, damn, $10 all you can eat. Like that was all you can eat sushi. I mean, obviously a lot of it's rice and stuff too, but yeah.
think it's already all played out now.
Which one?
Trappers sushi.
Yeah, no, I like Choppers. I like Choppers because they have like they have an all you can eat thing too, right? If you sit at the bar, I think it's like $30 or something, and it's like all you can eat. Like, in fact, the last time I went to Trappers, I think it was with Colleen, and I think Colleen, maybe some other people, but this is like super long ago. Probably haven't been to a Trappers in like 15 years, 10 years, something like that. So
Which one was it?
I want to say Puyallup.
When they were still by the mall?
Think so. This is so long
Yeah.
ago.
Because they're not there anymore.
For real?
Yeah, they moved down to like over by Target, like up by what's that, 152nd of Meridian.
Snap. Yeah. No, I think it was back in that other. And it was funny because it was like one of the only places that I remember seeing sushi. And then like everybody that works there is white. Even in the kitchen, I was like, dang, they got white people in the kitchen? That's crazy. So
That was me and my brother's regular weekly spot when I was down in Puyallup.
I thought it was bomb. Yes. I was like,
Once we roll in, they'd have like the bowl of sriracha and a whole lemon, and everything is.
dang.
We always call it out like light rice. We're not trying to go home now.
Yeah. For real. Man.
Yeah, man. Speaking of all you can eat, I remember a couple of the boys touched up on Godfathers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was a dope spot.
I remember we kept the plates, those little black saucers, to come back next Wednesday.
Oh my gosh. Now that's ghetto. That's ghetto, but smart. Cause like, damn, you're like holding on to that plate. Just leave it in the car.
Wash it, leave it in the backpack, go back there following Wednesday when you have half day. Eat pizza.
Dude, that's ghetto. That's hella funny.
I think that's
Because I
one of
thought it was pretty ghetto. We were all share like one drink because I think the drinks are extra. So I think like there would be one person that buy a drink and then everybody just gets their own all you can eat pizza plate. And then, dude, that was so like I look back and I can't believe how cheap that was and that they had that was even a deal. Because it's like, dude, we would go in there and just smash. We're the worst age group to come in there. Like we're young, have high metabolism. We can all of us can smash a whole pizza to ourselves and you're saying it's all you can eat and it's only $5. It's like, dude, where do we sign up for this? I mean, also like gas was like, this also shows how old we were. I mean, gas was $1 a gallon back then, back in the day, you know, dollar and some change. It's like, dude, so $5 of gas used to get you around. You know, $5 of gas today don't get you. You can't go nowhere, pretty much.
Hey, it's so much so that even people trying to give you gas money, it's like they would
It's
just
not
ask,
worth it.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not giving you gas money. Because, like now if you give like $5 for gas money, it's like, what is this?
yeah, exactly. And speaking of Godfathers, man, are there other places, any old places in Spanaway that you remember that you miss that's not around anymore, or places maybe that you used to like to go to?
No, dude, for the most part, we ate at home for the most part. And if it's something different, it would be like Costco pizza. And I was like, wow, what is this? This thing is like this
True.
thing is
Yeah.
I think the only other times we ever went out of the house would go to that skating rink down by Marketplace or down in Parkland.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the only.
Spinning wheels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's for the most part, until the family went back home, and then I had to live on my own for a bit. That's where I started like exploring stuff and actually got my first actual job.
Nice. Yeah. Damn. So like what kind of food were you guys making at home? I'm always like kind of curious too. So just was it be Chamorro food like every day?
Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
Tomorrow
That would
food.
that would be bomb every day. I would love that. Like,
Yeah. And it's always fitting too, right? Like when on cold, rainy days, you make the good soup.
yeah.
But my ass would always put more rice into a soup that already has potatoes just because
Oh yeah.
I don't feel like I'd be satiated if I don't,
What's your favorite soup to make?
Chicken soup. It's like regular chicken soup with coconut milk. I'd have to put coconut milk in there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Damn. So it's
it'd be
almost like a
that.
curry.
Yeah, you've had corn soup, right?
I love corn soup.
Yeah. So
That's probably one of my favorites.
it'll have the similar taste of that minus the corn, and then just you know you can floor it with Tabasco or finadeni.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's probably one of my favorite. I mean, Chamorro food is probably one of my favorites. Like you guys do like shrimp patties,
Yeah,
the finadeni, like all that stuff is like
danger, bro. You
teases.
like the finadeni is I think one of my favorite things to use for the finadeni is the roasted pig.
Okay.
Yeah, just because you can get all the dark meat parts, and once you press it into that finadeni, it'll just soak up all the juices. Let's go.
Wow. Can you explain to people what finadeni is? Because some people might not know what that is.
DJ explained that. Oh, DJ gonna have a chance to rebuttal this?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. People can come back on. People can come back on and like, yeah, we can
DJ's
have
gonna have
both
an
of you guys.
issue. DJ's gonna have an issue. We could sell it on the mat.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no, for the most part, man, I feel like my perspective, Guam is more Americanized. Kind of like it could probably be matched to like what American Samoa is and what Western Samoa is.
For
Where
sure. Yeah.
like in Saipan, we're very deep rooted still. We still practice the old culture. A lot more people, including children, still speak the language and practice the culture. Versus to me, like Guam still has that, but they're more already progressing forward. They're
Yeah.
progressing faster than we did.
They're more
Yeah,
westernized. They're
yeah,
saying Guam
definitely.
is more westernized than Saipan is. But
Yeah, that's why I mean, just if you just put up any random picture of me and DJ like side by side, he'd be better dressed. He would look more proper. You know, his posture would be like, I would be
yeah.
slouched, chill.
But when you guys speak Chamorro, like, is it like the same? Do you guys have different words at all? Or that's like Samoa? That's like America, like Samoa is the same as American Samoa, Western Samoa is, or the country Samoa. It's the same. Like if you speak Samoan, they still understand. But the slang is a little different. Like they say different slang words that
Mhm.
just make, and there's not very many, but there's like slang words that only people in American Samoa say that people out here don't say. And then I know there's a lot of things that people here say, and it's very like minor, very like small things.
Yeah, no, it's very similar. It's similar to that, and for the most part, like me being from Saipan, speaking Chamorro, right? Like I can probably have a longer, deeper conversation with an elder from Guam
Yeah. Oh
versus
yeah.
somebody my age from Guam.
Damn. See, that's deep. That's deep. Because I noticed that too. Like most of like you guys from Saipan, when you guys are around each other, most of the time you guys will speak Chamorro to each other. And then like, even if I'm around people from Guam, there's not as many that I know, but I rarely hear them speak Chamorro
Yeah.
around themselves. So I can kind of see that already too, kind of how you were talking about. I will say that most of the people that are from American Samoa, man, their English slash Samoan, it's like both like next level, really good. Like I feel like their English is better than the people's English out here. But I like if I could have that skill that the people that were from American Samoa, like where their Samoan is as good as their English, it's like, or their English is as good as their Samoan, is like, man, it's on point. So that's one thing I have because my Samoan sucks, but that's why it's like interesting to hear that like you started speaking Chamorro more when you came to the States is what's kind of crazy. It's like when you came on the mainland. Yeah.
It's crazy. Why? What made you move back? You just
My mom's here.
okay.
So after my dad passed in 19, and then like she wanted to move out here, and then I was just kind of like, okay, so like helped her move back, and then like yeah, just kind of hanging out, just because she's getting old, and so. But I'll probably be back in Washington too. So like when I come back, I'll definitely I'll round up some people, like people that are willing to get together, man. Like, 'cause I'd love to see everybody's faces and like how often, like, do you ever go to Tulalip? I mean, you got to be kind of close to it, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 10 minutes away.
Yeah, Tulalip's like one of my favorite places to go when I'm back in that area. Yeah, because I like I liked living in North Seattle. Like I said, I lived there like 10, 15 years. I lived there longer than I've lived anywhere else. And so like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I would go to the outlets up there and Tulalip because they're right next to each other. So it's like, yeah, man. They also have. Do you ever go to shoot? What's the buffet place? Golden Corral. Do you ever go to Golden Corral?
Oh, they closed it.
No way. Oh, they did.
The one here in
Yeah.
Marysville. Yeah,
Yeah, Marysville.
yeah, it's closed.
Yeah. I was one of the people that kept that place open because that was another place that I would like to go. I would go to all the time. I mean, it was like $11 all you can eat too for dinner, and I would be in there like, yeah. I used to. That's another. Those are the only things I would go to Marysville for is the casino, the outlet malls, and Golden Corral. Like I
They
would
have
make that.
have one, but they opened one at the South Hill Mall.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, when we were down there, it replaced the Old Country Buffet.
Oh,
OCB.
wow. Wow. And see, that's another one. I used to go to Old Country Buffet a lot too. Speaking of, because I think, man, I think Inouye used to work there back in the day.
That O-
I think, I want to say he worked there back in the day and like, when we were in high school. I'm trying to think, but yeah. And no, that's good. So like, yeah, man, like, when do you, so like your podcast, what platforms is that on, by the way? If people wanted to like start following your podcast.
Yeah, so at the moment, when I get it fired back up, it's going to be on Spotify and Podbean. I never really got it onto iTunes only because of the picture. Something wrong with the picture being formatted that it wouldn't allow.
Wow.
So that's one of my task items that I need to handle. So when I come back up, be jumping onto iTunes. And then based on following you for a bit now, since you started your journey, I think I'm going to start doing more content subsequent to the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, what about putting your podcast on YouTube?
No, and doing that, like doing
Okay,
that,
yeah. I was going to
putting,
say
trying
more
to get it.
podcasts are listened to on YouTube than any other platform now. They overtook Spotify and Apple, and I'm like, "What?" So that's another reason kind of why I do that here and focus it on here because this podcast is also on Spotify, but I'm so lazy to like it on that. And then like the Apple thing, because like you were saying, I'm like, man, I'm just too lazy to even put it on Apple. And I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna put it on this podcast can be found here on YouTube or Spotify.
And that's the other thing too that I wrote down that I'm considering is I was looking into Riverside and then StreamYard as well.
Yeah.
Instead of me trying to line up people in the area to sit down face to face, I can fill it with people like you, like people abroad, people that
Yes. Yes. If you ever need a guest, I'm down. And then Riverside is good. So if you use Riverside, use my link. If you use StreamYard, use any other link. But yeah, it's like, speaking of, if you're out there and you want to start a podcast, yeah, Riverside's one of the easiest ways to do it. As you can see, like me and Wilton have been talking, and we're in two totally different places. He's all the way up in Snohomish County, and I'm out here in Samoa. And for the most part, this thing works. It's like, it's
you know, it's,
dope.
it's pretty good. I knew at some point you were gonna come through. That's why when we were trying to figure out the times, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna own this and I'm gonna tell him what time instead of keep going back and forth.
Yes, no,
That's why
thankfully,
you a
thank
time. I gave you a time, and then you gave me a time that would work better for you. So it's like, all
yeah,
right,
yeah,
got there.
no, for
And then,
sure.
damn, am I gonna write this guy and ask him if he's gonna send me a link or? And I said, you know what, we already have the time, so I'm just gonna be by my phone. And then sure enough, I saw the link pop up. I said, okay, here we go.
No, that's dope, man. Are there any people from Spanaway you still kind of keep in contact with?
Interestingly enough, when I was down in Puyallup, I worked with I got a job with the city of Auburn,
Oh, okay.
and unbeknownst to me, man, I got hired in, and after I think a couple months, I found out that Ricky J, we call him Ricky J in junior high, but it's Richard Hill.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, we worked together the whole time I was there. I was like, dude, it's just crazy. You and me from Spanaway, you know, over here
Yeah.
working for the government. No, it's just him that I met, and then kind of keep in contact through Facebook. Just checking up on, and then everybody else kind of just see, through Facebook.
Yeah. No, that is.
Where I've been, like, I moved up here. The jiu-jitsu gym that I coach at and that I attend, there's a CrossFit gym that's next to it, and I was dabbling in there, and I met this dude in there. His name is Alex Densmore. I don't know what year, or I forgot, but he was like, "Where you from?" Like, just giving me all the questions. He's
Yeah.
like, "Where did you move here? Where'd you go to school?" And I said, "Oh, I went to Spanaway." He's like, "I'm from Spanaway." I was like, "What?" I said,
How
"Yeah." I
old
said,
is?
"What?" He's probably like in his late 20s.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah. So then, yeah, he's
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, he kind of got like that. I saw it in him too. He kind of got pumped up when we
Yeah,
both that were from Spanaway, and he's like, "I'm
dude.
from Spanaway too."
It's funny because sometimes I think I know of some people that are not proud of being from Spanaway. I think I come. No, yeah. I can't confirm it yet, but I know I was talking with some friends and I was like, man, I think that dude's from Spanaway. And I'm pretty sure they are. And I don't want to blow him up, but he was telling his friends that he's from Lakewood. And I was just like, oh, that's interesting. That I wonder if he's ashamed to say that he's from Spanaway, Because usually people have that. Like when I
What's
meet
the
people from Spanaway,
yeah? What's the reference of Lakewood? Is that supposed to imply that he is harder, or that he doesn't want to?
I don't know, but that's why I was like, why wouldn't you just, if you're going to say you're from Lakewood, you might as well just say you're from Spanaway, So, because I haven't heard back. This is in like a group text. And like, I was like, man, can you ask that person which high school they went to? Because like, I'm pretty sure they didn't go to high school in Lakewood. So, but I don't know. I just think like I could see, I don't know. Some people are ashamed, I think. And so that's why I feel like that's usually the feeling I get when you do, because Spanaway is so specific too. It's like, I don't know. That's why I feel like that is more likely the experience people would get when you meet somebody from Spanaway. So,
I don't know. I never had like ill will towards it, and
yeah,
then
same.
now like doing this amplifies more my gratitude for where we've come from.
Yeah, and I think what you call it. I think at one point I was maybe ashamed. I wouldn't say ashamed, but I was just like embarrassed. But this is like maybe like right after high school, maybe, but or maybe even during high school. But I mean, now it's like I don't know if there's anything I'm more proud of. It's like I don't know. I think,
It's
and a
rare.
lot of it is because of the
It's
people.
rare.
Say
It's
that
rare.
again.
It's rare.
Yeah, exactly. And which I think is kind of cool. Like, yeah. And then if there was like anybody that you could reconnect with from back in the day, is there anybody that you would have in mind?
Man, everybody, like, when you make it back and you want to get that connection going, I'm down. I'll show up. But it would be nice to meet with the old heads, man.
Yeah,
With Dookie, Randy. I remember playing. Now that I think of it, playing basketball outside his Dakota Sack, his house, like skipping
yeah,
school to do that.
yeah, man, yeah. No, that's been some of the funnest parts is like reconnecting with people. Like I'm so thankful to those guys to jump on, like Randy and Duke, jumping on.
Yeah, I think that time I seen DJ was, I don't know if it was last year or a year ago, but it was at Jiu Jitsu. I went down to visit his gym, and he
Oh,
was there.
did you know he was going to be there?
No, I did not know he was going to be
Is
there.
this in Federal Way?
Yeah, in Federal Way.
Yes, because I went with DJ one time to like sit in, and I think they were like, this is like maybe like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and I was just sitting in, and like the teacher was like trying to get me to sign up, and I was like, oh man, I kind of don't live here right now, but hey, maybe if I come back, because man, shout out to DJ because he actually got me a gi, so I have a gi, but it's in Vegas, which is I need to go to Vegas, and I have a bunch of stuff there still there because when I lived there, so I have stuff in boxes in Vegas I still need to pick up, but in those boxes I still have a gi that DJ gave me, but dude, that must have been crazy because you just brought it up too. You said you coach.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit. How'd you get into that? And then what was that like seeing DJ out of nowhere? That must have been crazy.
So yeah, I got into coaching. I started jiu-jitsu in 2012, and then my brother and my old professor Josh Calvo, who's from Guam, moved to Tacoma and started running his class there, a gym there. So I just went, shifted there, and started helping them with the kids programs. Kind of got really interested in how that was going for them and really helping them. And then when we decided to move up this way to Snohomish County, I walked into a gym that is just transitioning from like a fight club into an actual business
Mm,
to start a kids program. And I just it was all timing. Like I just
yeah.
walked in and found the
Well,
opportunity
how
to
did you
help.
get involved? How did you start doing jujitsu in 2012? How, like, what made you start doing jujitsu back then?
My brother, he was always into MMA. He did a couple fights, as did I. I did one, and I kind of hung it up, and always looking for some kind of activity to keep myself busy. Hopefully it wouldn't take time, and I can involve my family. That way we're not separated trying to do different things. And I got into that because my brother called me. I had the time for it, and it's something that was doing with the kids at the time.
He was already doing it?
Yeah, he was already doing it.
Oh, okay. Like, and
And
then he had already been doing it for how long?
I would say before me, probably actual jiu-jitsu, probably 2 years before I came in.
Dang, okay.
And you gotta imagine like that, just that Islander mentality, and then him being younger than me, like he's
Yeah.
not nice to me. And there's
He's
more
not nice to you.
there's more island boys there that have been doing it for the same time.
Oh, so he was kicking your butt.
They were kicking my butt.
Wow.
Like
All the
when,
boys were kicking your butt.
yeah, on purpose. Like when I tap, they would not. They would say, "Oh, we don't tap," you know.
Damn.
But like looking back at it now, like I appreciated all of that because that's how I got my grit. That's how I got my style. That's the way I coach now. That's my mentality when I coach the kids. Like we don't
Yeah.
cry because you cry. I'm not gonna quit.
That's
Like yeah,
so, yeah.
you're at the playground and somebody punches you in the face, and they're gonna continue to punch you in the face. Crying is not gonna stop you.
Yeah.
You know.
I talked about it in DJ's episode, and DJ's older brother was a dick. I always felt like he was always kind of mean to us. But like you bringing that up, man, I feel like you appreciate that because life in general like is much worse than him doing whatever little stuff that he was doing to us when we were kids, and it's like it's real. So
Yeah, no, it's out when you think about it. Like the beginning of our conversation, as far as me not tapping to my vulnerability.
yeah,
Like in this case, got beaten out of me.
yeah,
That's why
yeah,
I'm more appreciative of it
yeah, absolutely,
because of the growth.
absolutely,
But yeah, and like I run kids program anywhere ages from 4 to 9.
nice.
Yeah,
So, dude, you get paid for that? Is that like a side hustle too?
yeah,
That's tight. That's tight. So you started doing that in Tacoma, and now you get to continue doing that up in the gym that's closer to you up in Snohomish now. Damn, that's gangster. That's tight. How many days a week does that take up?
So I do 3 days because I do Tuesday, Thursday, and then on Friday I do a competition class. So competition class is combination of the older kids and then the younger kids, and it's geared towards kids that compete. So
Dude,
it's
that's tight.
more fast paced, more high intense.
Nice. And then if people wanted
Or
to sign up with you, if like people wanted to sign their kids up with you, right? We'll have that information for them, correct? We could put that in the description
yeah, if they're
of the
in there,
YouTube.
come up for like one on one or whatever. Yeah, I'll give
Yeah.
you that.
Yeah. So yeah, look for that if you want to learn from Coach Wilton here, some jujitsu stuff. And so a random question I like to just randomly ask a lot of my guests, just because it's just something I like to compare just randomly. But like, do you remember where you were at for 9/11?
Yeah, I was just getting back from Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh, snap. What was going on up there?
So at that time, I was working for Northwest Airlines, and I was up there doing a seasonal.
Northwest Airlines.
Yeah,
Whoa. Damn, we are old. I haven't heard that. Airlines in Ella. You were working for Northwest
yeah.
Airlines. Okay.
So I was up there doing a seasonal gig because it's summertime. So a lot of hunters, fishermen go up there. So I was up there, and then I came. I flew in the night before, and then I remember the next day I woke up. I think it was like eight in the morning, just hearing like all the commotion in the house. Like everybody's reaction. Like what's going on. Yeah, so that's how I got intro to it, and then I had to report back to work that night. to the airlines. And that's when everything started kind of, you start thinking a lot like, where are we going from here? Is this even still going
Yeah.
to be a career path, or like, what are we doing here? But
Aren't they?
yeah,
We're,
planes were grounded for, I think it was a couple of nights after that. And then I, me-
wow. Yep.
I remember when they started flying, like we could not show the planes up.
Yeah. Yep.
Like we were sending big planes with just like one passenger, a bunch of mail, cargo.
Yeah. I went to Vegas that next week. I went to Vegas that next Thursday. So on the 20th. So it was like 9 days after.
Mm-hmm.
And my flight was pretty empty
Yeah.
from what I remember.
Yeah.
And
No,
people were actually surprised that we even flew. But I was like, it was my first Vegas trip being 21. So I was just like more excited for that. And then when we got to Vegas, nobody was really there.
crazy times.
Yeah. No, super crazy times.
We
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead. You're good.
No, I said we kind of like our generational thing is we've endured some crazy times.
For sure, man. For sure. We've seen communism fall in countries. We've seen crazy terrorism attacks. We've been through several recessions. It's like we've seen some crazy stuff. So, nah, man, it's
I say that's why that's more reason for people to speak their mind, because in one way, form, we all have built resilience and a lot of perseverance all those times.
that's my favorite. Like, I think that's just like natural for most people is like those comeback stories are the best, but it happens in everybody's life. And so like hearing everybody's comeback story, no matter what it is, that's why I try to tell people like, man, if you can just come on this just come on this podcast and just tell your story. Most people have a comeback story inside of their story somewhere. And I think that's just the cool part of that, like being here alive today is just the fact that we all kind of had to come back from something. So that's why I feel like that's super important. So before we put the tables and chairs away, is there any last things that you want to say to maybe the people, our old classmates or people from Spanaway in general? Anything that you want to say to them before I ask you this last question?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, there's always a lot of things. I think it'll come at a better time when you get your ass back over here and organize something for everybody to do.
Let's go. Okay, for sure.
But as for my fellow classmates and friends that have done the podcast, it's been quite the blessing to see how you doing, how you guys have been carrying your families, and where you guys are at. That's pretty awesome to see, for your vulnerability and your willingness to share. And for everybody else, please do, because regardless whether we show it or not, everybody is missed. And when we reconnect, it only makes us, we said earlier, there's still a lot more life to live. So bring on
For
more person,
real.
gathering together, sharing our thoughts and what we have come to find out, all grow together.
Yeah.
To Jay Noter, bro, you would see me at Costco, but DoorDash is the way, bro. DoorDash or Instacart in Costco that's key. So you won't
You
see
don't
me at
like to go to Costco? He loves going to Costco. You're hardcore Instacart or DoorDash?
Instacart for Costco.
Instacart. Dude, he would be so disappointed in you. He loves going down every aisle. He loves it. I'm telling you, man.
He looks like he loves it. I know that.
Man, that's so dope. You baseball players are hilarious, man.
Yeah.
So, what you call it? I like to ask this to everybody before we close up here, but if you could have a conversation with yourself back to 1998, what would that conversation look like?
I would tell Wilton, bro, to stop hiding behind himself. Tap into your vulnerability, and that's the best way for you to grow. Is to not use your past or your experiences as an excuse to prevent you from moving forward. Just letting it out there and living to build yourself better. And
Dope.
I'm only saying that having walked this far after high school, like we could have learned this many, many years ago.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of what we're doing now, because now the kids, I realize that how I grew up is not how I'm raising them right now. It's all because of my experiences that I'm growing because they're growing. It's like that. It's wild, but I think
It is.
Yeah.
It's so deep, man. Damn, man. Well, thank you for jumping on the podcast with me today and having that courage to step up and just talk about all the things that you brought up, man. I think a lot of people can take a lot about, you being vulnerable and honest and authentic about your whole journey coming to the mainland of America and stuff, and just like living your life and being who you are, man. I just really appreciate it. And for all you guys out there watching, we will catch you guys in the next one.
Shoots.
That was dope. That was dope.